like to welcome everyone to our Value Freedom Show. This is an exciting program where we have the opportunity to talk about liberty and livelihoods, and the two are very connected because you need the energy in order to have the productivity that will give you the foundation to accomplish your goals and accomplish your dreams. I know firsthand the importance of being well, and I've been in a position where I've had a lot of activities halted simply because I haven't had the health to proceed. And then thankfully now I'm on the flip side of that, where it's just a blessing to wake up every morning with the energy and the fortitude to accomplish those goals. So it is my pleasure to introduce our guest today, who is a naturopathic doctor. He's a master herbalist and certified nutritional counselor. He's also the CEO and founder of the Health Guardian, a program dedicated to the education of holistic healing. He's been working in the alternative medicine field for 10 years, and he's been interviewed as an expert many times by the media. I've had the privilege of interviewing him once before, and I can tell you you're in for a treat. My guest is the author of the amazing, riveting, enlightening, I could continue to go on with adjectives, a book entitled Stop the Number One Killer of Americans Today. This is all about a natural approach to preventing and reversing heart disease. He serves on the medical advisory board for a number of organizations. It's a delight to have you with us, Dr. Harry Elwart. Thanks for joining us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Your book, The Number One Killer of Americans, opens our eyes to the real cause of disease and death, something we don't hear about very often for people who are plugged into the traditional medical arena and have been buying everything they've ever heard from the media and perhaps from their doctors over the years. Enlighten our listeners. What is the real cause of disease and death?
Well, the real cause is something called NDS, which is Nutritional Deficiency Syndrome. Ever since 1934, a bill was presented before Congress that exposed the truth that our soils in the United States, because of poor farming practices, are completely depleted of minerals. In fact, farmers only put 3 minerals back in the soil, which is phosphorus, potassium, and nitrogen, to get things to grow fast. But actually, within the soil itself, there should be somewhere around 77 different minerals. So it's no longer there. There's very little topsoil left on top for planting, and if we do not take in these minerals when we eat, which is the way God intended it, then what happens is we have a breakdown, and your liver can produce vitamins, but without minerals, there's no absorption. You can get vitamins in your fruits and vegetables. Without minerals, there's no absorption. So you can have an orange that looks like an orange, tastes like an orange, smells like an orange, but it can have actually 0 milligrams of vitamin C instead of another orange which can have 100 milligrams of vitamin C. So that is the problem. That has led our bodies to begin to break down. They said any lack of any trace amount of any mineral can lead to disease and death, and that's what we have. We have disease and death running rampant. America is number one in a lot of different areas. We're also number one in degenerative disease. We're also number one in healthcare costs, and we're out of 33 industrialized nations. We're 24th on the list as far as longevity, and we are 29th on the list as far as infant mortality. So we are failing terribly when it comes to wellness, and according to the World Health Organization, the number one reason is we do not teach prevention. Other countries, other governments will practice prevention. Here in the United States, we do not practice prevention, and we're not rewarded if we do. It's not covered under insurance, so people will continue to die.
Wow.
It's unfortunate.
What an indictment on our system. We have the best of science research, and yet it hasn't really netted anything for us in terms of longevity by comparison to other Western nations. And that is something that I think strikes fear in a lot of people's hearts. Now, the way traditional medicine has been approached has not given us the quality of life that we had hoped for. Now, you're a naturopathic doctor. Can you explain what that is exactly?
Well, the naturopathic approach is we believe that the body can only heal itself, and the body has the ability to do that if three things are in balance, and those three things have to be body, mind, and spirit. The conventional medicine approach is here's a symptom, here's a chemical. The trillion-dollar food industry, which is really starving Americans, we're overfed yet starving for nutrition, on the other hand, is giving way to the trillion-dollar pharmaceutical industry. Those are our two biggest industries, two biggest lobbies. And unfortunately, there's so much money and greed in that they don't want cures. They want lifetime customers. So it's not about curing anything. So when our bodies break down, they give you something to make you comfortable, to help you to cope another day, not to cure anything. In fact, in 1979, an article was published in Wall Street Journal, laterly was published in Fortune magazine, in which one of the financial advisors for the top pharmaceutical companies stood up and said, listen, gentlemen, if eradication therapy catches on, we will all lose. Now, eradication therapy is people taking, looking at alternative treatments, and who's going to lose? Are they talking about, you and me? No, they're talking about the shareholders, the people that, are the stockholders, and they're the ones that will lose. So they don't want people to be cured, and it's a dark secret. And, I think Americans are starting to come around to that because, you go into your doctor, he does a test, he finds something that's borderline, he puts you on a medication, you come back 30 days later, he developed a dry cough, he gives you another medication, now you can't sleep at night, he gives you another medication, now you're anxious, so he gives you another medication, now you're constipated, so he gives you another medication, and pretty soon you're on 15 different medications. You get up in the morning, and by the time you leave the house, you don't know who you are, where you're going.
Pretty good example of what happens. I tell you what, if only people could hear this message, because the inference is your doctor's God, he knows exactly what's good for you. But why did you write this book? I know education has been a huge component of what you do, but what was the impetus for you?
Well, I wrote the book because it was part of my thesis for my doctorate, and I wanted something that was, I felt was very important. And the more I did research on heart disease, the more I realized that it was our number one killer, not only in the United States but worldwide. And the more research I did, I started to realize that conventional medicine was failing and failing miserable. That it was continually to go on the rise, even with pharmaceutical and technology and everything. And yet there was plenty of evidence in natural alternatives that were working fine that people just didn't know about. So you're saying we don't have to die of a heart attack at the rate, the percentages that's being fed us? No, there's no reason to have a heart attack or stroke, or cancer for that matter. You should your body is genetically designed to live 120 years and for you to die in your sleep. And that's the way I'm going.
I like it. That's what my husband always says too. He just absolutely refuses to accept disease, and I love it. Now, in your opinion, is the cause of heart disease mineral deficiency as well?
Well, there's a number of reasons. Dr. Linus Pauling, who won 2 Nobel Prizes on his research on vitamin C, learned that humans and mammals like chimpanzees and guinea pigs are the only animals on the planet that do not produce their own vitamin C. Vitamin C is critical. Now, maybe 200 years ago, man did, but for some reason we do not produce it anymore. And vitamin C keeps the arteries nice and soft and the blood flowing and so on and so forth. So the average small, 20-pound dog produces 50,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day.
Just produces it naturally?
What's the recommended RDA for a human who weighs 10 times that amount? 60 milligrams. So,
goodness.
It's crazy. So vitamin C is one reason. Another reason is something called homocysteine. Homocysteine is produced from methionine, which is an amino acid that when you eat processed foods, it converts methionine into homocysteine.